The planet Arendor was unlike any place humans had ever seen. Its forests floated high above the ground, glowing softly in shades of blue and green. Rivers of light ran like liquid silver through the skies, and strange creatures with wings like stained glass fluttered between the hovering trees. On this beautiful alien world, a small human colony had been built decades ago. Humans had learned to adapt, using their ingenuity to make homes on the floating islands and to farm the glowing plants that were unique to the planet. Liam, a boy of 9, lived in one of the smaller settlements. He had sandy hair, curious brown eyes, and a mind that seemed always to wander beyond the sky. Every morning he would climb the tallest trees near his home and watch the floating islands drift past. Sometimes he imagined himself as a great explorer, charting the stars and discovering new worlds. One warm morning, a group of alien visitors arrived. They were from the royal house of Cyrenthia, a distant star system known for its wealth and advanced technology. Leading the group was a young princess, no older than Liam, with hair like silver, silk and eyes that shimmered like the twin moons of her home planet. She wore a dress that seemed to float around her, reflecting the soft light of Arendor. Her name was Illyra, and she was visiting to learn about human colonies. The humans gathered at the landing area to greet the aliens. Liam was curious and bold as always, so he ran to the front. Most of the adults stayed back, unsure how to behave with such important visitors, but Liam didn't care. When Illyra's gaze met his, she smiled. It was a smile full of warmth and curiosity, a smile that made him forget everything else. "Hello," Liam said, trying to sound confident. "Hello, little human," Illyra replied, her voice musical. "What is your name?" "I'm Liam," he said, standing a little taller. "Do you like our planet?" Illyra's eyes sparkled. "It is wonderful. I have never seen anything like it. The trees, the rivers, they are magical. You must show me more." Over the next few days, Liam and Illyra spent almost all their time together. He took her to the tallest floating islands, showed her the glowing rivers, and taught her how to climb the giant trees. Illyra laughed every time she tried and failed, but she never gave up. She asked endless questions about humans, their customs, and their small but determined colony. Liam answered as best he could, proud that someone so important was interested in him and his world. One afternoon they sat on a floating island, watching the twin moons rise in the alien sky. Liam pointed to the lights far below, the glowing homes of his family and friends. "Do you think humans are strong?" Illyra asked. Liam thought for a moment. "We are small compared to some aliens, but we can do a lot with our brains. We are brave and we never give up even when things are hard." Illyra smiled. "I like that. I like humans." Then, suddenly, with the seriousness of a child but the confidence of someone who believed in the magic of promises, she said, "When I grow up, I'll marry you." Liam blinked. He had not expected that. You will?" "Yes," she said, nodding. "I promise." Liam laughed nervously. "But you're a princess and I'm just me." "Does it matter?" Illyra asked, tilting her head. "I like you. That is what matters." For the rest of the day they talked and played like any two children might, but Liam could not stop thinking about her words. Illyra's promise was like a seed planted in his heart, one that grew bigger with every day they spent together. He knew she would leave soon, returning to her home world and her royal life. But the memory of her words gave him hope. The day of her departure arrived. Liam's stomach felt heavy, and his chest tight, as if the floating islands themselves were weighing him down. He watched as the royal spaceship descended, its surface glowing with alien energy. Illyra came to him, holding out her small hand. "Will you remember me?" she asked. "Of course," Liam said, taking her hand. "Then promise me something," she said, her voice serious. "Promise that you will grow strong and brave, just like you said humans are." "I promise," Liam replied, feeling a strange mix of sadness and pride. Illyra leaned forward and whispered, "And remember, when I grow up, I'll marry you." Then she smiled and ran toward her ship, her laughter echoing across the glowing islands. The spaceship lifted off, disappearing into the sky, leaving Liam standing alone. For years after that, Liam remembered the little alien princess. He thought about her every time he climbed the tall trees or walked along the glowing rivers. He grew taller, stronger, and wiser, learning the skills humans needed to survive on Arendor. But even as he focused on work, studies, and helping his community, Elira's words never left him. They were a light in the darkness, a reminder of the friendship and trust that could exist even between species. At night, when the twin moons rose, Liam would look at the stars and wonder where she was, whether she was thinking of him, and if she truly meant her promise. His friends sometimes teased him, saying that she was just a child, and promises made in youth were often forgotten. But Liam never doubted. In his heart, he believed that some promises were stronger than time and distance, that some bonds could survive across light years and alien worlds. One evening, as he practiced the art of climbing a giant tree near his home, he paused and looked at the horizon. A shooting star streaked across the sky. Liam closed his eyes and whispered, "I hope you'll come back one day, Elira. I'll be ready." Unknown to him, somewhere far across the stars, Elira was also looking at her sky, thinking of a human boy she had met long ago on a glowing alien world. And though she had grown taller, wiser, and more powerful in the 20 years since she left, the memory of Liam's courage and kindness remained vivid in her heart. The galaxy was vast and full of unknown dangers, but it was also full of possibilities. Liam's story was only beginning, and Elira's return, years in the making, would change the course of his life, and perhaps the fate of Arendor itself. And so, on that floating island under the twin moons, a simple promise made by a little alien princess planted a seed that would grow 20 years later into something neither human nor alien could have imagined. 20 years had passed since Liam had last seen Elira. The little alien princess with silver hair and sparkling eyes had become a memory, a dream he often carried in his heart. Yet that memory never faded. Every time Liam looked at the glowing forests of Arendor, or listened to the rivers of light that ran across the floating islands, he remembered her promise. "When I grow up, I'll marry you." The boy who had once climbed trees and played under twin moons had grown into a strong, clever man. Liam was now in his late 20s, tall and broad-shouldered, with hands skilled in crafting tools and machines. He had learned everything humans needed to survive on Arendor: how to farm the glowing plants, how to build homes on floating islands, and how to navigate the strange wildlife that sometimes threatened the settlements. Yet he had also learned more than survival. He had learned to think ahead, to plan and to solve problems in ways that even the aliens on the planet had trouble understanding. Humans were small in number on Arendor, but their minds were sharp. Liam had often marveled at how humans could turn their weaknesses into strengths. While alien species relied on technology that sometimes seemed magical, humans used creativity and courage to survive, and sometimes even thrive, in places that seemed impossible. Liam had become one of the brightest examples of this, respected by his people and noticed by visiting aliens for his ingenuity. Far away, in the royal world of Serenthia, Elira had grown into a young woman. She was no longer the small, playful girl Liam had met on Arendor. Her silver hair now fell in long waves, and her eyes held a quiet wisdom that came from years of leadership training. As the daughter of the royal house, she had been taught strategy, diplomacy, and the ways of ruling her people. She had seen countless alien worlds, met leaders from strange civilizations, and learned how complex the galaxy could be. Yet, in all her studies and travels, the memory of a small human boy remained with her. She remembered his curiosity, his kindness, and his courage. She remembered how he had shown her the floating forests of Arendor, and how he had climbed the tallest trees with a grin on his face. Most of all, she remembered his heart, the human heart that dared to dream and to hope even in a galaxy full of danger. As the years passed, both Liam and Elira faced challenges that tested their character. Liam dealt with alien wildlife that could destroy entire settlements if not handled carefully. He navigated political tensions between different alien species who sometimes viewed humans as weak or unimportant. And he faced moments of doubt, moments when he wondered if he would ever see Elira again, if her promise had been only a child's fancy. But every time he doubted, Liam reminded himself of one thing. Humans were survivors. Humans could think, create, and endure. Even if the galaxy seemed vast and indifferent, humans had a spark that nothing could extinguish. That spark kept him, moving forward, building better homes, improving farming techniques, and even designing small flying machines to travel between the floating islands more easily. Meanwhile, Elira faced her own challenges. Being a princess was not just about wearing fine clothes and attending ceremonies. She had to learn diplomacy, negotiation, and the weight of leadership. Rival factions within her own royal court constantly tested her patience and intelligence. On top of that, she had to navigate. The morning began like any other on Arendor. The glowing forest drifted peacefully in the sky, and the silver rivers reflected the light of the twin suns. Liam stood on the edge of a floating island, watching a small farming drone hum through the air. He was repairing a set of cables that powered one of the human settlements. His hands were rough from years of work, but his mind was sharp and he moved with confidence born of experience. Life on Arendor had become routine for him. He led the settlement council, helped design new tools, and worked to keep peace with the alien groups who shared the planet. Yet deep inside, Liam carried a quiet emptiness. He had achieved much, but he often wondered what his life was truly leading to. Sometimes, when the moons rose at night, he still thought of the little alien princess and her promise. But after 20 years, those memories felt like a dream, bright but far away. That day, as Liam tightened a final bolt on the drone's frame, a strange sound filled the air. A low hum, deep and powerful, rolled across the floating forests. Birds with crystal wings scattered, filling the sky with flashes of color. Liam's eyes widened. He knew that sound. It was a ship, a large one, descending from orbit. The settlers gathered quickly on the main platform. Mothers called their children close, and men and women stared upward as a massive vessel cut through the clouds. It was no ordinary trader ship or supply craft. Its hull gleamed silver, marked with the crest of Sirenthia, the royal house. Liam's heart skipped a beat. He had seen that crest once before, long ago. His chest tightened as old memories stirred. Could it be? The ship descended gracefully, engines glowing with alien energy. The ground trembled as it touched down and a long ramp extended. Guards in shining armor stepped out first, their movements precise and disciplined. Behind them came attendants carrying banners that shimmered in the light. And then, finally, she appeared. Elira. No longer a child, she walked with the grace of a leader. Her silver hair flowed behind her like a river of light, and her eyes, those same eyes that had once sparkled with curiosity, now held wisdom and strength. Her dress shimmered like starlight, a sign of her royal status. But when her gaze swept across the crowd and landed on Liam, a small, unmistakable smile curved her lips. Liam froze. For a moment he could not breathe. The little princess he had once played with, the girl who had promised to marry him, stood before him as a woman, radiant and powerful. The crowd murmured, awed and uncertain, but Liam's world had narrowed to her alone. People of Arendor. Elira's voice rang out, clear and strong. I am Princess Elira of Sirenthia. I come in peace with hopes of learning, sharing, and building trust. The settlers bowed respectfully, but Liam could only stare, his mind racing. She had returned. After all these years, she had returned. That night, a grand feast was held in her honor. Humans and aliens alike gathered, curious about the royal visitor. The floating island where the feast took place glowed with lanterns and music echoed through the air. Yet for Liam, the world seemed strangely quiet. He sat across from Elira, the flickering lights reflecting in her silver hair. You've changed, she said softly when the others were distracted. Liam gave a small laugh. So have you. You're not the little girl who fell from a tree anymore. Her eyes sparkled at the memory. And you're not the boy who promised to be strong. You kept your word. Liam's smile faded. And you kept yours? He asked carefully. For a moment, silence hung between them. Elira looked down at her hands, then back at him. I never forgot. Not once. Before Liam could reply, a commotion broke out near the edge of the island. A group of alien merchants argued loudly with the settlers, demanding more trade rights and threatening to cut off supplies. The air grew tense. Liam rose quickly, stepping between them. Enough, he said firmly. This is not the time or place, the alien sneered. And who are you to speak for the colony? A human? You are weak compared to us. Liam's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice calm. Maybe we are small, but humans survive where others fail. We adapt, we endure, and we don't back down. The crowd fell silent. Even the aliens hesitated, sensing the quiet strength in his words. Elira watched closely, her eyes shining with something deeper than respect. Later, as the feast continued, Elira approached him again. You spoke with courage. That is what I remember most about humans. Their hearts are stronger than their size. Liam shrugged lightly. We do what we must to survive. No, Elira said softly. You do more. You create, you dream, and you protect. That is why I came back. Liam blinked. You came back and for me? Her cheeks colored faintly, though her voice remained steady. Yes, for you and for what you represent. The galaxy underestimates humans. I don't. The night ended with questions still unspoken. But the air between them was charged with something powerful, something that had survived across 20 years and countless light years. The next morning, however, trouble arrived. Rumors spread quickly that rival alien factions had taken notice of Elira's visit. Some saw her interest in humans as weakness. Others saw it as an opportunity to gain power. A message arrived at the settlement, demanding that Elira leave at once or risk conflict. Liam read the message with a grim expression. They won't stop, Elira. To them, humans are tools or obstacles, nothing more. If they think you favor us, they'll try to use it against you. Elira's eyes hardened. Then let them try. Sarenthia does not bow to threats. Liam admired her strength, but he also knew the danger. Humans were clever and resourceful, but their colony was still small. If war came, they would be caught in the middle. That evening, as he walked with Elira along the glowing rivers, he finally asked the question that had burned in his heart since her arrival. Why now? After 20 years, why return? She looked at him, her eyes soft but steady. Because I promised. And because I believe humans have a place in the galaxy that others cannot see. I wanted to see if I was right. I wanted to see you. Liam felt his chest tighten, a mix of hope and fear. And what do you see now? Elira's smile was quiet, but it carried the weight of truth. I see a man who kept his promise. A man worth remembering. A man worth trusting. The floating forests swayed gently in the breeze as they stood together, the moons rising above them. The promise of a little alien princess had survived 20 years, and now it was no longer just a memory. It was real, alive, and ready to change everything. But in the shadows, danger grew. Rival factions whispered, waiting for their chance. And soon, both Liam and Elira would be tested in ways neither could have imagined. For now, though, under the twin moons of Arendor, two lives once tied by a child's promise had found each other again. And the galaxy, vast and unpredictable, was about to take notice. The days after Elira's return were filled with excitement and unease. For the settlers of Arendor, having a royal princess among them was both an honor and a burden. Children followed her with wide eyes, whispering that she was more beautiful than the glowing forests. Farmers bowed nervously when she passed, unsure if they should treat her like a guest or a leader. But not everyone was happy. The alien merchants who had threatened the night of her arrival had not left quietly. They carried tales to their allies, saying the humans had gained dangerous favor with Sarenthia. Whispers spread through the skies of Arendor, carried by traders and travelers. The princess favors humans. The colony grows bold. Perhaps too bold, Liam sensed the shift. He stood at the council platform one morning, speaking with his fellow settlers. We must be careful, he said. Attention brings danger. If rival factions see us as valuable, they may try to control us. If they see us as a threat, they may try to destroy us, the settlers murmured in agreement. Though proud of their colony, they knew it was fragile. Their homes floated on islands of soil and stone, held aloft by strange alien forces. Their defenses were simple. A determined enemy could overwhelm them easily. Later that day, Elira joined Liam by the glowing riverbank. The water shimmered beneath the twin suns, casting silver light across her face. You worry too much, she said gently. Liam gave a tired smile. That's what leaders do. Her lips curved. So you are a leader now? He shrugged. Someone has to be. Humans survive because we step forward when needed. I never asked for it, but here I am. Elira studied him for a long moment. That is why I trust you. Her voice softened. Do you remember the promise I made as a child? Liam's chest tightened. I never forgot. Neither did I, she said firmly. Then her eyes darkened with thought. But promises mean little without trials. We must prove to others what we already know, that humans are more than they seem. That night, trouble came again. A group of alien envoys demanded to speak with Elira. They were from the Draveth Consortium, a coalition known for controlling trade routes with ruthless efficiency. Their leader, a tall alien with skin like dark stone and glowing red eyes, sneered as he addressed her. Princess Elira, he said, his voice like grinding rocks. Your presence here disrupts balance. You give hope to these humans, hope they do not deserve. Withdraw or face consequences. The settlers gasped, but Elira stood calm and proud. Cyrenthia bows to no threat. The humans of Arendor are under my protection. The envoy's eyes narrowed. Then you make them targets. And targets are easy to destroy. Liam stepped forward, placing himself between the envoy and the settlers. If you think humans are EA... The colony of Arendor slowly returned to calm after the Draveth fleet pulled back. Yet everyone knew it was only a pause, not peace. The settlers worked harder than ever, preparing for the day when enemies might strike again. But Elira carried another worry in her heart. One evening she called Liam to the council hall. The flickering glowstones lit her silver hair, making her look almost otherworldly. There is something you must see, she said quietly. Liam frowned. What is it? Long ago, Cerenthian explorers built a sanctuary on this world. A place of knowledge and power. Few remember it now, but I learned of it from my tutors. If we can find it, it may give us an advantage against those who threaten us. Liam's eyes narrowed with curiosity. A sanctuary? Like a hidden library? More than that, she replied. It holds ancient technology, perhaps even weapons. If we reach it first, it may save your people. The next morning, Liam gathered a small team. Elira insisted on joining, and so did Captain Mara, one of the strongest settlers. Together with a group of explorers, they set out across the floating lands. The journey was not easy. They crossed forests of glowing trees that hummed when touched, valleys where the air shimmered like glass, and cliffs that broke into smaller floating shards. The settlers had never gone so far from their colony. Each step felt like walking into mystery. On the third night, they camped near a canyon. Strange whispers drifted on the wind, though no one could find the source. The settlers grew uneasy, but Elira explained softly. The sanctuary was built with defenses. Even nature here listens to protect it. Liam stayed awake, keeping watch. As he looked at the stars above, he wondered what kind of power they might discover. Would it protect humanity, or place them in even greater danger? The next day, they reached the canyon's heart. There, hidden between walls of crystal stone, they found a vast doorway covered in glowing markings. The symbols pulsed faintly as if sensing their presence. Elira stepped forward, placing her hand on the markings. It recognizes my bloodline, she whispered. The sanctuary still waits for its keepers. The door slowly opened, releasing a deep hum that shook the canyon floor. A rush of cool air swept out, carrying the scent of old stone and forgotten history. Inside, they entered a massive chamber filled with towering pillars. Each pillar glowed with soft light, and streams of energy ran between them like living rivers. At the center stood a great crystal, floating above a platform. The settlers gasped in awe. Captain Mara muttered, "By the stars. This place isn't natural." "No," Elira agreed. "It is Cyrenthian craft at its finest. My ancestors built this to preserve knowledge and guide us in times of crisis." Liam approached the floating crystal. Strange patterns moved within it, like galaxies in miniature. "What does it do?" he asked. Elira touched the platform and the crystal brightened. Holograms bloomed in the air, images of ships, stars, and maps of distant systems. The settlers stared in wonder. "This sanctuary holds records of Cyrenthian technology," Elira explained. "Energy shields, healing devices, even starship schematics. Much of it would take years to understand. But here lies knowledge greater than what the Draveth or any rival faction could imagine." Liam's heart pounded. He saw not only danger but hope. With this knowledge, humanity could rise beyond survival. They could build, defend, and even explore the stars as equals. But before excitement could spread, the crystal flickered and changed. A deep voice echoed through the chamber, speaking in a language most settlers did not know. Clara translated, her face pale. It says, "Outsiders are present." It asked if they are friend or foe. The holograms shifted, forming an image of humans. The sanctuary seemed aware of them, watching, waiting for judgment. Liam stepped forward. He did not know if the sanctuary could hear him, but he spoke anyway. "We are not enemies. We are builders, dreamers, survivors. We may be small compared to the great empires, but we carry courage and determination. Judge us not by our size, but by our spirit." For a long moment nothing happened. Then the crystal pulsed and the holograms changed again. This time they showed humans standing beside Cyrenthians working together. The voice returned, gentler now. "It accepts you," Illyra said softly, relief in her eyes. "The sanctuary recognizes humans as worthy." The settlers cheered quietly, their fear melting into awe. Liam felt a weight lift from his shoulders. For the first time, something ancient and powerful had acknowledged humanity, not as weak intruders, but as allies. But their discovery would not remain secret for long. As they explored further, Captain Mara spotted scorch marks near one of the passages. "These are fresh," she warned. "Others have been here." Illyra's face grew tense. "The Draveth. They must have followed us." Before they could react, shadows moved among the pillars. Figures stepped out, armored and armed, Draveth soldiers. Their leader sneered, his voice echoing across the chamber. "Did you think you could keep this treasure for yourselves? This sanctuary belongs to us now." The settlers froze. They were outnumbered, their simple weapons no match for the Draveth's advanced gear. Liam's mind raced. The Draveth leader pointed at the crystal. "Hand it over, or we burn this place to the ground." Liam's jaw tightened. He glanced at Illyra. She gave him a slight nod, as if to say, "Trust yourself." Then Liam spoke, his voice steady. "You think this place will obey you? It won't. It already chose who it accepts. And it wasn't you." As if answering his words, the crystal pulsed again. Energy surged through the chamber, knocking several Draveth soldiers to their knees. The leader snarled, trying to fire his weapon. But the sanctuary itself seemed to resist, bending light and sending his shots astray. The settlers used the moment to fight back. Liam led them with courage, guiding his people to drive the Draveth away from the crystal. Though the battle was fierce, the sanctuary's defenses turned the tide. Finally, the invaders retreated, cursing as they fled into the canyon. When silence fell again, the settlers stood shaken but alive. Illyra placed her hand on the crystal once more. "It protected us," she whispered, "because it trusted you." Liam looked around the glowing chamber, feeling a strange mixture of pride and responsibility. "This isn't just Cyrenthian legacy anymore," he said. "It's ours too." The settlers returned to Arendor with heavy hearts but shining hope. They had enemies now who would stop at nothing to take what they found. But they also had proof that humans could stand in places of power, proof that their spirit was seen and valued even by ancient forces. That night, as the colony celebrated their safe return, Illyra stood beside Liam on the council balcony. The glowing forest spread out before them like a sea of stars. "You spoke for your people," she said softly, and the sanctuary listened. "Do you know what that means?" Liam nodded slowly. "It means we're no longer just survivors. We're becoming something more." Her eyes shone with quiet pride. "That is why I returned after 20 years. Because I knew one day humans would be ready." And as the twin moons rose over Arendor, Liam felt the weight of destiny pressing on his shoulders. The trials ahead would be harder than ever. But for the first time, he truly believed, that humanity had a place among the stars. The days after the discovery of the sanctuary were filled with both hope and fear. The settlers of Arendor returned stronger than before, carrying memories of the glowing crystal and the knowledge it held. They knew they had been chosen, accepted not only by Illyra but by the legacy of her people. Yet they also knew that their enemies would not forget what had happened. The Draveth had been humiliated, and the Draveth never forgave humiliation. Liam stood on the balcony of the council hall one evening, staring at the sky. The twin moons glowed softly, but his eyes searched the stars beyond. He knew sooner or later dark shapes would come from that endless black. "They'll return," he said quietly. Illyra joined him, her silver hair catching the moonlight. "Yes, and not with a small force this time. They will come with fire and fury." Liam clenched his fists. "Then we'll be ready." Preparing for war, the settlers worked day and night. Guided by Liam's leadership and Illyra's knowledge, They began to adapt the technology they had seen in the sanctuary. The glowing rivers became power conduits. The floating islands became platforms for hidden defenses. Even the forests joined the effort, their bioluminescent vines woven into nets and traps. Humans were quick learners. What others discarded as scraps, they turned into shields and weapons. They built energy slings that could launch bolts of light, barriers made from shimmering crystals, and even crude flying machines that glided between the floating cliffs. Captain Mara drilled the settlers like soldiers. "We fight smart, not strong," she reminded them. "The Dravith have power, but we have wit, and wit wins battles." Every evening, Elira stood beside Liam as they inspected the defenses. She spoke with calm certainty, but Liam saw the worry hidden in her eyes. "You're afraid," he said one night. "Not for me," she answered softly. "For you. For your people." "I brought danger here," Liam shook his head. "No, you brought us purpose. Without you, we'd still be just survivors. Now, we're defenders." Her lips curved into a faint smile. "That is why I—" She paused, choosing her words carefully. "That is why I made that promise long ago." The invasion begins. The attack came without warning. On the third night of the harvest season, the sky split open. Dark ships descended like storm clouds, their engines roaring.